Dreamyoungmedia live. Like, comment, subscribe. Dreamyoungmedia live. Like, comment, subscribe.
And then everything else that's going on. So we got to deal with the natural disasters. Now we got to deal with all the pandemic issues that come along with that. So the list is long.
That has changed quite a bit of things for me on my end. I don't know about you guys on your end. I'm sure it has.
Yeah, everybody's playing catch up. Everybody's playing catch up and trying to restructure their businesses and all their things that they have going on in life just to still keep things moving forward. So, yep. And so I'm just happy to have you on the show today. Just thank you for accepting the invite and coming on the Dream Young podcast. And just tell us a little bit about you, Kerry, and tell us a little bit about Easy Hold.
My name is Kerry Mellin. I live here in Southern California. And I've been a costume designer for about 35 years in the film industry. But with that comes a lot of using your hands, and it requires a lot of lifting and sewing and pinning. And when you're building costumes, it involves a lot of stretching and yanking and dressing and just constant use of your hands all day long. And the hours are very long in the film industry. And then plus at home, I'm an avid equestrian. I have horses, and so I have a small ranch, which requires fence building and cleaning corrals and keeping things clean and taking care of the horses. And it's a lot of physical labor. Yeah. And so my family has a history of arthritis. And a few years ago, about 5 years ago, I went out to get my barn cleaned for a family party I was having. And I went to grab my own broom. And I had a very, very painful reaction in my thumbs, and it was the early onset of arthritis. And I could barely grip onto the broom, and I'm saying, oh my goodness, my family's coming in 1 hour. So I took some duct tape, and I duct taped my hand to the broom. I made a loop on the broom, right?
Wow. Good old duct tape. It works for everything.
How am I going to grip this broom? My thumbs were screaming. So I made a loop and I slipped my hand in and I start brooming. And I'm thinking, this is really easy. This is very simple to hold on to this broom. It doesn't take any grasp. So I was thinking to myself, I thought back to when I was speaking with a professor and I was trying to decide what career path to take. And he gave me a test that was called the Briggs-Stratton test. And it told you what area of occupation you would be happy in. Not necessarily what you'd make the most money in or what would be a huge success, but what environment would be stimulating for you. And so it came up with two things, and that was film and television and also occupational therapy. Well, at that time, I was dating someone involved in film and television, was already helping them with costuming, because I'd been making my own clothes since I was a girl. So I was already doing some costuming for the film industry. But I didn't know what occupational therapy was. So I went to my local hospital, Northridge Hospital, and volunteered in the spinal cord injury wing. And I was intending on doing that for about a month, but it turned into 1.5 years because it was so fascinating watching the therapists and aiding them to help people relearn to eat and drink and paint or draw or write after traumatic injuries. And at that time, the therapists were kind of making cuffs on the fly to help people hold on to a fork or a spoon or a hairbrush. They were just making things because the cuffs, they're called universal cuffs. The cuffs they had at the time were made of things like Velcro and elastic, which would get wet and dirty and unhygienic immediately. So they kind of were making things on the fly. I was watching them at the time thinking, gosh, this is labor intensive, but I guess this is what you had to do. So when it came time to, I was taping my hand to the broom, I was thinking, I wonder if there has been some advances in universal cuffs to help people like myself, my family, and my friends and baby boomers, who is going to be we're going to have the hugest number of adults on the planet, next year or something like that, a huge influx of people coming into their 50s and 60s and beyond. So my sisters came over later for the party. And we're talking about what we always do, which is at some point maybe start a business together. We've all had full careers. I've been a costume designer. My other sister has been a director of early education for 35 years. And my other sister is a chef and a fine artist. So we talk about, oh, do we want to open a shop and do our granny's famous buns and or the fudge that we make in our family? Or how about open an art studio? So then I said, well, something funny happened today. I had to actually tape my hand to the broom because my arthritis, the arthritis in my thumbs was so sore. What about if we investigate making cuffs for people? So my sisters are very inventive too. I come from a family of 5 girls, not a lot of money. So instead of clothing, when we all turned about 10 or 11, we got sewing machines so that we could make our own clothes.
That's right.
They're very inventive. We are very crafty when it comes to doing things for ourselves. So my sisters went off to the Hollywood mask shop to learn about silicone because we decided that silicone was soft and hygienic. They went to learn about silicone, and I got on the computer to check out what kinds of things had been made and could find nothing. Then I checked out, what about we coming up with some kind of a patent? I looked through all the patents to see if there was anything with the silicone universal cuff, and there was not. So we hopped on that. And they learned all about molding silicone, pouring, curing, coloring, how to do it from this Hollywood mask shop. So that next week, we spent the next week making about 1,000 different prototypes to test on different objects. And that's how Easy Hold began.
Wow, that's awesome. And so how are you guys producing the product now? Is it by hand still, or do you have a third party, or maybe a 3D printer?
Yes, we do. We have a manufacturer here in Lake Forest called All Seals, and they actually have several different places that they source our Easy Holds from. We have molds made, and we source them from China, and then also here in Lake Forest. It's been very interesting. We don't speak Chinese, but All Seals in Lake Forest is able to communicate and do that part of the job for us. And then they take care of the quality control. So we went with All Seals early on in the beginning because they were one of the few companies that were willing to take a chance on us making a small amount of product to begin with. And we've stuck with them. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I was on a website a couple of days back, and I see you guys have a variety of sizes and a variety of colors. So tell us a little bit about the options you have on the website. Oh, you got some samples for us.
Great.
Oh, yes. So this is how it comes. And this is a therapist pack. So it has the smallest for a child or for holding a pen or a pencil. I'll show you how that works. And then the largest for larger equipment like a broom. And then there's also the sippy cup, which is this size. I'll show you how the Easy Hold works. So here it is on a fork. You just slip your hand in like so. And it's super simple.
Wow.
You can put that right into the dishwasher, just like that. It also goes so you can, for bilateral coordination. Let's say that you have had a stroke and one side of your body is working well. Well, you're still going to need a little help on the other side to perhaps secure your food. So it might be something where you would secure your food and then you would use gross motor skills to move your arm back and forth. You may not be able to grasp, but you can move your arm back and forth and keep that side of your body strengthened. It not only comes in adult sizes, but it comes in tiny, tiny sizes for children too.
Yeah, I've seen a few on your Instagram.
Pediatric stroke. And it's funny, when we invented this for adults to start with, but we realized that there was millions and millions of children who are born with conditions that make it difficult, if not impossible, to hold something as simple as a baby bottle, a spoon, a fork, a teether, a rattle. So we developed sizes for children as well. Because if a child cannot get an object to his mouth and get that eye-hand coordination, it becomes very difficult for a child to make progress. It also fosters a great amount of inclusion in the classroom because we want to integrate children with special needs or individual needs into a standard classroom, a regular classroom. But how do we do that? Well, we make these in fun colors to begin with, so a teacher can have a selection of easy holds that are already on objects. Here's one on a marker. There's no reason these can't stay on a marker for the children with and without conditions that affect their grasp. Right. There's no reason it can't stay on a paint dauber. It should stay on a paint dauber so that the kids are not like, oh my gosh, you need an assistive device, or you need a universal cuff, or you need help. I mean, lots of objects have handles already, right? Yeah. So it's really no different than a cup as a handle. You know, your vacuum has a handle. Everything has a handle, so why not put a little cuff on it? And you know, and even for grooming, for self-care for children, that's very, very difficult. So even for a child that is perhaps missing fingers or a hand, a child with limb loss, born with limb loss, you don't need to have fingers or a hand. You can just slip it onto a limb. So the, you know, the uses are endless for self-care, grooming, eating, play. For a child to hold a baseball bat. Or a tennis racket. Or a boat oar. Or even for musical instruments. So here it is on a drumstick. You do not need a grasp at all to hold a drumstick.
That's right.
Yeah. And it has a nice recoil too. So even for adults, maybe an ex-drummer who has carpal tunnel.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's awesome because, you know, you just kind of, just everything with Easy Hold, you set it up with family, right? You came up with an idea that's impacting lives and putting smiles on people's faces and making their lives more complete. And it's a successful idea. You know, so that's great. That's great. You know, a lot of people would kill for a business like that has all those elements all in one. So that's a beautiful thing what you're doing.
And well, I think that more people have an opportunity to do that. And maybe now when people have a little more time, I had the time because in my industry, we have hiatuses. We might work for 3 weeks and then I'll have a week or two off work. So I personally had time. The occupational therapists that I talk to now, they are our bread and butter. They are occupational therapists and special education teachers are the ones who purchase these the most. They say, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of it? And I say, you guys are working from 5 a.m. till, you know, 10 p.m. There's no time to come up with these ideas. Right now is a great inventive time for people to innovate new products. And this is not a new idea. This was, here's an old universal cuff. So this is what they look like. They're made of Velcro, they're hard. This has a piece of wood actually. So you have to strap it to your hand really tight. And then what you do is you stick a pencil in it like that. And that's how you would hold it in the old days. So not only is it not hygienic because it's got the Velcro, but it's not comfortable. And the object does not even go in the palm of your hand. It goes into the tool. So you can't feel the object. You can't feel the warmth of the wood or the cold of the steel. You can't tell how hard to grasp it. So our innovative idea was actually an old idea with a new material, which is silicone. You know, it's been in our kitchens now for about 15 years. So innovation is actually taking some old ideas and using them in new ways.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So I see the where it makes sense because the Velcro, you can adjust it to size, but you have an option for that with the different sizes. So, you know, that's no longer an issue. Plus it being hygienic. With this, you know, COVID-19 era, we definitely need something that won't harbor bacteria.
Absolutely. This is the first cuff that has been approved for use in hospitals, therapy centers, and special education facilities, and elder care facilities. And what is also wonderful about it is that unlike a universal cuff made of fabric, Velcro, elastic, it doesn't have to be tight because silicone is slightly sticky. So it can be very, very loose and still hold on. It doesn't have to be tight, which is really another factor. And for kids with sensory issues, it's very soft and easy to wear.
Wow. And so how long has Easy Hold been in business?
We opened up, we invented it in 2014. We got our patent interestingly enough, it took us about a year and 18 months to get our patent. And we call this an independence product because this is what it helps people do, become more independent, right?
I agree with that.
serendipitously enough, our patent was awarded on Independence Day.
Oh,
July 4th.
great.
We thought that was
That's
so
wild.
serendipitous.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah.
Here it is, July 4th, Easy Hold.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we've been selling now for about 4 years. We sell with 20 distributors on Amazon and at our own website at easyhold.com.